So in summary, Alan, I forgot to record. Alan has a huge amount of interesting perspectives that we'll talk about for how we should record the meetings. One of those is it shouldn't just be about one meeting. So we're talking about recording different aspects using AI from each meeting, summaries, and so on. But then also having a system whereby we can compare changes over time. Over to you, Alan.
Yeah, okay. Thanks. We want to kind of get an idea of the ideal end result, you know, like for instance, it's a fun tool, but not a truly valuable tool to be able to look back at everything that I said in the past year, right? That's cool, but that's not really valuable to other people or to me. In certain cases, it might be. Hold the phone there. What is more interesting is, um, what are the predictions? How have predictions changed, or how has the tenor of the conversation evolved over, the course of a year, right? Like, even not to get to, I mean, the visualizations are far, far away, but you know, to get a sense of if our conversations are like clouds, where have the clouds drifted over this course of time? And then, of course, even better would be to get specific answers to questions. How does this group feel about X, right? So there's a lot of different ways to get there. I think you're right about starting with as accurate an automated transcript as possible, so that we do very as little as possible curation to correct it, so that we can continue it on the pipeline. But then the next steps of the pipeline would be like, OpenAI's API has a larger context window now. And so in theory, it could take in more content and reply to the prompts. So we could design prompts from each transcript to get out a certain amount of information, right? There's kind of some scandal around, like, does a longer context window just mean that it's more garbage for the AI to get through it, and the results aren't going to be as good? So that's a thing. But using the API is, first off, much cheaper than paying for ChatGPT. And we could run through a series, we could then program a series of prompts that, a transcript gets run through each time to create a larger corpus, right? And then, so like each week we like go through these sort of prompts and process it a number of different ways. And now we have like various versions of that one transcript or various metadata around it. Then do that for each one of the transcripts. This is where it has to be automated, right? Like going back a year, right, would be pretty wild. Running through that same pipeline, then with that new metadata, start to combine them, run little segments of, like Otter does a pretty good job of taking a conversation and then saying, here's what I think this conversation was about, right? So getting a year's worth of that, then it opens the doors to how we can design solutions, right?
I was wondering if Whisper, okay, let's forget brand names and technologies for a minute, but imagine if we all had a, okay, let me not do that. If everybody records their own voices live, so we don't have to worry about naming, that's a help, obviously. But what if that is plugged into some kind of a web interface where once the token size is filled, it does a summary of that live, let's say every 10 minutes or 15 minutes, whatever it might be. So while we have a meeting, and I know that some of these things claim to do it, like what's it called? Nonsense things here. Anyway, so that means we can actually kind of go back and say, no, actually, that's not what I meant, or ignore it in the meeting, or add to it, or be inspired by it. But it means that the chunking isn't done after the fact. Because one of the things we want to do in the meetings is have a 10-minute at the end summary, which hardly ever I remember to ask for, and then we're all a bit confused, and then we got to go and whatever.
Yeah, I think so each person recording their own.
Well, recording, maybe through a web interface, it all goes to a server somewhere. I mean, I do have one, and it's all put together, but it's put together speech to text by that person in a timeline. And then that is, when a token is filled up, sent to OpenAI for some of this analysis.
Have you seen the new plugin that allows you to chat with a YouTube video?
Oh my God, no, that sounds insane.
Yeah, let's maybe push that up to the top, because all it really requires is well, if I understand it correctly, there may be other caveats, but definitely for Jeremy Howard, it works off of the transcript of the video. So assuming that there is a good transcript, you can actually have a conversation with that video. Like, not, it doesn't respond visually, it's just obviously a chat conversation, but so that's, wild. Let me see if I can find it. In the meantime, Otter its interface is pretty good. I don't know how well the system that you're using picks out this stuff, but yesterday I was able to pretty quickly, here, I'll share my screen for a second. Where we go. Yesterday I was able to, I think it's here. Pretty quickly label just one time who the speaker was, and then it figured out the rest, right? So if I go in and change Brandel, it'll be like, okay, which person is it, right?
Oh yeah, that's the same in Sonics. It's okay. Once I've done it, it'll figure out in the rest of the transcript.
Okay, great,
But it doesn't do it to the next session. So for people like us who have regular meetings with roughly the same people, come on.
Yeah, right. It is weird that it doesn't pick up on that. And of course, there's all kinds of words that, like bambles. I don't think Brandel said bambles. That always happens. But and even here, when I said analog spatial computing is an attentional joke, when I meant to, where I think what I said is intentional, but this aspect is pretty nice.
Yeah.
Right.
It is very nice, actually.
And if this is exportable,
copy summary, what does that do? I mean, what do you get at the top there?
Copy summary. Oh, great. Let me check.
What size screen are you using? I know I've asked you before, but I can't remember.
I've got 2 external monitors, and one of them is like a wraparound one.
Oh yeah, those are very cool.
Let's see. Just paste this. Oh, nice. Oh, that's great.
I can't see your other screen. Show me, show me.
Yeah, I'll stop share. And then craft. Is it that one? Yeah, I think so. All right, so here's the link to it, and then here's the summaries. I didn't start it immediately, so I missed the beginning. But this bulleting is pretty nice. Let's see how accurate it is. So this would be Adam when he was talking about, are there going to be any 3D fonts? Are they going to model 3D letter forms? The application gets neither the position of hands nor the direction of the eyes. 3-dimensional fonts, no accommodation for legibility.
Hang on, what are you reading this as? Because it's an outline, right? Which is really, really interesting.
Yeah, I'm reading elements, the bullets in the outline to see if they make any sense.
But where did you paste it into? What app is this?
This is Craft.
Oh, okay, very interesting.
Yeah, Craft is pretty nice. It's not great for, creating an ontology, but it's my go-to for taking notes. So do we need to drop everything and be the headset? I don't know what that means. Half-Life, Axle, and full-on desktop VR, right? So there's issues here.
No, but I think Half-Life Alex is correct. I think that's the game.
Oh, okay. And then Pico projector versus laser pointer wow, that's great.
Yeah.
Yoga and yoga for yoga.
Huh.
That's interesting. Um, so anyway, so something like this, right? Obviously this takes some curating, so it's not quite there. The chat with the YouTube video, I'll take a look at that, see if I can find that again. But if we can, outside of technology, if we can figure out the nature, the recurring conversations, the meta themes, I think it'd be a lot easier to even say, like, turn this into a kind of a newsletter or something, right? Where, like, if we have a recurring theme about the state of technology today, like, and that it leads to a rant about how awful Twitter is becoming, right? Well, then now we know where to put that rather than a bucket called Twitter. It's a bucket called, like, market forces or something, and that, even from a metadata sense, is useful as a timeline, right? Like, rather than just talking about VR, it's like we're talking about a moment that happened with, and we didn't talk about Twitter and stuff, but if we had, that'd be like a moment in time. That's a historical event. Anyway.
So yes, I think definitely something to pursue, but also I do think there is real value of someone making an intentional presentation, of course. So,
Yeah.
I think we need to, well, one of the things I want to talk about on Monday, and I'm not sure if we did, I was all over the place as always, which is fine, is for the next book, I really want to separate presentation from what goes in the book to begin with. And it's very, very difficult because, what is the best way to, this is obviously the eternal question, what is the best way to write connected writing?
Yeah. Can you hold for just a second? Hold that thought. All right.
I just have to reply to a brief email there. My advisor is asking me questions, so I better hurry up. Boom, almost. No, that didn't work. Yeah. I mean, the frustration with text, of course, is it's so intensely non-visual, which is ironic because obviously it is wholly visual. But to see more than what's, to use the word correctly, literally there. I want to be able to have you, for instance, write a piece for the next, where you refer to some of these summaries, but they're not dead summaries. You know, you can forget the fact that we also use PDF, but imagine if you were able to write a piece like, you know, we've been discussing paper for a while. In brackets, here are the references to where we did that. And then, but the way we looked at it has changed. Again, in brackets, you see the change or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
I just have to find a URL to send to him. I'm sorry. I'll try to be quick. Oh yeah, it was this one. Okay.
So here's the chat with YouTube repo. Seems like it's pretty easy to set up. Project link. It's there. Okay. Start demo. This is the demo.
You're in Manhattan, right?
Brooklyn, yeah.
Brooklyn. Oh, okay. Yeah, I have a friend in New Jersey who just landed. I'll see her tonight. She works at, hang on a second. Yeah, we're talking about digital books.
Yeah, and how much I've written actually quite a bit on what digital books are and different ways to think about them and what they could be, right? Like at the very base level, it's an interesting thought experiment to look at ebooks as an alternate timeline of what the internet could have been,
Yeah.
which it's a future that is far worse in some ways, right? Like no, the one we got is in some ways way better than ebooks, right? But the wild thing about ebooks is that for whatever, I don't know if it's some sort of like DNA passed down from the book publishing, it's just great to be able to read something and not have ads get in the way or not have a sudden firewall. But at the same time, I've lost so much faith in the nature of technology and how it's controlled and run now that like that's why I, for the most part, get physical books. I enjoyed reading on Kindle, but the way that they even constrain highlights, I've lost my faith that a book that I buy on Kindle is actually always going to be a purchase of mine. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Part of the whole point of my thesis is there's the web and there's PDFs, and their benefits and negatives are almost exactly the opposite.
Yes.
So what I'm trying to do is reinvent that, but piggybacking on PDFs at least for a while. Can you quickly have a look at a 2-minute video with me? Do you mind?
Sure.
Okay, I just put the link in so you can have your audio on. You know most of this, but not everything. I think it's really relevant to what you just said.
This is how you can copy from a PDF as a full citation using author and reader. Copy from a PDF and reader and paste in author, where you can see it as a full citation, not just plain text. When exporting your finished document to PDF, as well as a cover page and automatic table of contents, you get an automatically generated reference section. This is a normal PDF, which can be read in any PDF viewer. However, if you open it in Reader, you can do more. Click on the in-body citation, indicated by a number in hard brackets, to see the full reference information. Click on the title to load the document if available on your machine. If the cited document is not available on your local machine, then the download page will load. To enable the ability to copy as a citation, the PDF document will need to have metadata specifying the title, author name, and so on. This is in an appendix called Visual Meta. If the document did not have visual meta, Reader will attempt to add it when first opening the document. If the document has a DOI on the first page, Reader will turn it into visual meta automatically. In cases where there is no DOI on the first page of the document, you can download the PDF and then copy the DOI from the download page. Then go to Reader, choose Tools and Apply DOI, and Reader will create visual meta that way. I would like to show you one more thing. I select text and do Command-Shift-C, then paste into author. The selected text is not visibly pasted, only the citation information. When I export and open in Reader and click on the citation, the selected text appears as a hidden quote. In summary, you can copy as a citation from pretty much any academic document. The metadata required is automatically added when possible and easily manually if required. Readers can view your PDF in any PDF viewer, and they get more options when using Reader, including click to see the reference information and click to open the source document if available, which is likely if you're writing for someone in the same academic field as you. I hope this will save you time. Thank you for having a look.
So obviously I want you to know about my work, but I'm showing it specifically because there is stuff that can be smuggled into.
Hello.
Oh,
Wow.
that was really odd hearing that there. You can smuggle things in if you write what it is. And I think that the things we're talking about today, about having a better record, can be better smuggled into academic documents. And the thing about communicating via document that I think is so important is you're making a statement that I have written a thing that I'd like you to read. And here it is. You have it. I cannot delete it or edit it on social media. You have that. But the key is, as we refer to each other, links can actually open directly. It's actually faster than web hypertext because there's an expectation of sharing the PDFs, right?
Mm-hmm.
But that's not me saying, oh, my system is great. That's me saying this is such a basic infrastructure, what we could build on top of something like that. Like imagine if everybody who gets the book is also expected to download our entire transcripts, for instance, and all these other documents we talked about. Let's say once a year we make them available each for one thing. Then anybody in those documents can link to specific sections in any of those different views, for example.
Yeah, I agree with a lot of that. It kind of comes back around to what is perhaps a good theme for the year or something, but what you have when you talk about Reader and author and PDFs is an intuition, like here is a hunch, a long hunch that things could be this way. And I agree with that. And it's funny because I wonder if we're going to see a couple of sea changes in the next few years where things that were considered uncool or dead ends suddenly become interesting avenues again. And they were always interesting. People kind of just stopped, right? It's definitely the vibe I get with Stephen Wolfram's New Kind of Science. Is not that he discovered something new so much as he kept going when other people said this is boring and found something on the other end of it, so yeah, I agree with you. It's like there's still so many parts of it there's still so many mysteries or foggy territories. But I think that having local webs, as you could call a PDF, a local hub, as being a more interesting direction than an app where everybody collaborates on everything. But all the focus right now, a lot of people are really jamming on, let's just have more and more WebSockets and we can, have this open experience all the time together, which does have benefit. It is cool. And maybe there's a mixture of local web and this CRDT. But the intuition that CRDTs are running on is that valuable work can get done if everybody's in the same screen together. And I don't know that that's the case, right?
Well, it comes down to, like so many of these things, it depends on context. We're doing valuable work now, but we certainly wouldn't want to do that all the time. The link I just sent, you probably have it, is our invitation page.
Yeah.
You should feel absolutely free to help polish that. Because you talked about the kind of theme.
Yeah. I like spatial cognition. Great. And I did take a look at this already, but I'll take another look. I like where it's going. Yeah, spatial cognition, intuition, taking a look at the past is a consistent theme, right? And what new lessons can be learned from the past. Yeah, so prioritizing some of this stuff, getting a big picture view of the various conversations. And if a typical conversation or piece covers a couple of topics, being able to say like, here is an idea from that, which you've already done several times, right? Like you've made bold or italicized what the main idea is. Some more stuff along those lines, I think, is would be useful, and then maybe even adding that to the YouTube page or something, not just the transcript, but like, here's what it's about.
Yeah, I mean, the whole point of the community is to inspire thinking, obviously.
Yeah.
And that's based on people. In the very first book was easy because there was no history. So it was just a matter of anybody who has perspective on text, put it in. And people should be able to skim through and see what inspires them or not. Now we have too much text, ironically. So now we really have to do what you say. We have to, you talk about intuition. I've used the term spark points. That's why I invented the liquid tool. Whenever you come across something that sparks you, either curiosity or questioning or whatever it might be, you should be able to take an action to deal with that.
Mm-hmm.
So also going through our volume of stuff, you should be able to act on, this is an interesting, you know what, maybe what we need to do is something as simple as find a way to put everything we produce, maybe separate book versus transcript, but everything we produce in a format whereby a new AI can use it as the corpus. So imagine you're reading a sentence by Barbara Tversky and you right click or whatever, you have some options, and it says, one of the options says, what else has this person, because it'll know it's Barbara Tversky, said on this topic? Or what are the counterpoints to what she's saying in this corpus? Maybe we need to become an ever-growing training set.
Yeah, I like that. You know, it's funny, it comes back to ChatGPT is great, but it still doesn't help you figure out how to ask the right question.
Have you seen how I've implemented, yeah, I'll show you. So this is how I've implemented in Liquid. So you can be absolutely anywhere, select any text, you can see, right?
Mm-hmm.
So this happens to be, I'm checking on Reader, my, I'm just gonna go, okay, ASM tech, no, that's rubbish. So much confidential stuff on the screen, especially here. Let me just find a normal thing. Reader. Boom, boom. There we go. Right. So select an arbitrary chunk of text and Command space to load it into Reader. No, sorry, Liquid. So then we have, if we now do A, we get this menu. So these are the prompts, right? So that is the way that it works. And also,
do that again real quick, please.
yeah, you select any text in any application, do your
Okay.
keyboard shortcut to launch Liquid with that text. And then you can click or do A for Ask AI. And let's say now you want to have main points, you do A again for all. Point is that the whole reason for inventing Liquid is that you shouldn't only be able to have Google. So we have all these different searches. I could instantly search Google Scholar, books, all these things, references, just as fast, because speed matters with this, right? So that's why we have it with all these prompts.
Yeah.
Right. Now inside Reader, we have almost the same thing. Control click and you have these. There is a little bit of a difference because Liquid is for reading and writing. Author is only for reading. So we wouldn't necessarily have suggest something I should write next.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Which in itself is a, this text is discussing the future of la la la. Oh, here's a thing yesterday. So my friend Chris, he took one of the future of text websites and he had it be rewritten as a Daily Mail, you know, kind of a hateful right-wing newspaper tone, entirely dismissing it. And it did. It was very snarky and all of that stuff. But the key thing is what it referred to in the article was correct. I was really impressed.
Oh, okay. That is good. I would love to see more of that.
So yeah, so I'm just showing this as a imagine we had now. Oops. We had. I'm talking about this thing here. Imagine if one of the options was what we talked about. What is, you know, all the list, a subsection could be a list of all the people in the community. What has so-and-so said about this? It's really easy to make your own prompts. You just do that here.
Side thought, based on that example you just mentioned, it would be kind of great to take, I guess, to be able to do a I don't know, state of the union, future of text. What have we learned so far? You know,
Yeah.
and remove or de-emphasize things like, well, it could go either way, you know, those kinds of those aren't really like hard, here's what we've discovered, here's what we've learned. But from the things that other people have written, from the speakers and guests, a sense of
Yeah,
how have our minds changed, what are we operating on now, you know.
are we talking about us doing an editorial or some sort of an AI thing?
Not an AI thing, even, you know, like maybe someday, but just thinking about the actual core value, being able to say, this is what we've learned over this many years, or maybe, you know, whatever the scope is. Even so that someone who is aware of future of text, but doesn't know what it is and isn't going to read through all these various, you know, either opinings or deep dives, can go, oh, okay, I get it. They're teaching, they're learning. This is how far they've come. Here's what they've discovered, you know. I mean, a lot of the time what we learn is that, oh, X is harder than we thought, right? So aside from those kinds of things, because when I think about it, it's like, that's kind of hard to pin down, right? It's more of a process of continuing to open our minds and not take things that were previously taken for granted, not take them for granted as much, right? That's a big part of it, but that might help, like, and this is just kind of even outside of the symposium or the next book or whatever, just getting a sense of, as a research appendage, what does this thing do? Right?
That sounds reasonable. Sounds difficult. Maybe what we should do is all of us who wants to think of a couple of key themes, and then we get someone from outside the community to interview us and have that as a recorded section. Maybe that's easier to clean up.
Yeah, I'm just spitballing. I'm kind of, I think there's more to that idea than just that. I don't know that that's exactly the best way to do it, but I was kind of also thinking about how last year, you had this great motive of the VR can't be caught up in company interests, right? Like, it's bigger than that, and we have to make sure it's bigger than that. So
Yeah.
even sort of touching, coming back to that, where are we now? 1 year later or so, like, where is that, right? And we can speak to it on the AI sense. Like, there seems to be, it looked for a minute that AI was going to be totally locked in by the big companies, but now there's this great renaissance of open source AI. So that field is in play, which is exciting.
Yeah, I mean, one of the problems I'm having doing my corrections for my thesis is the world is very different from it was a year ago.
Yeah.
Right. And as I'm just put in a link here, I wrote this BBR article, which is kind of my attempt at looking at this, but my brain is very much constantly looking forward. I'm not a very sentimental guy in this context. So I completely agree. It would be very useful to have a state of the art, state of the union, state of progress. Absolutely. I don't think I could do very much for that usefully, because I start getting a little bit stressed and say, well, we got to fix this, then we got to fix that. It's very hard for me to just calm down, write down where we are and what's happened. You know what I mean? We are
Yeah.
all different there.
Yeah, agreed. Right. And there's always a tension with what is the value of doing granular deep dives and parsing everything versus just accelerating and moving on, right? But
Well, I do completely agree with you, because as I keep clarifying and doing this again and again, I find that I'm copying Doug. So, being able to look back and see how things connect is valuable, completely.
yeah,
Have you loaded the BVR link? If you scroll all the way down, tell me what the quote is from, please. Do you recognize it?
if we lay a strong enough foundation, we'll pass it on to you. We'll give the world to, oh, Hamilton. Yeah.
Ah, relief. Okay, it's a bit of a detour, but please click on the word Wimbledon. It's kind of an Easter egg that no one will care about, but that loads that video.
Oh, nice.
No, if
But that is what we're thinking about doing, right?
you
To
know
be
what,
able
I can
to,
make it a strange type. Oops.
to do that in our work, refer to other things, but not just a cutesy little thing like this, but make it more interconnected. For some reason, the linkability web stuff isn't really, yeah. We got
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. It's always hard to talk about, to figure out how to put words around all the things that are going on. At times linkability is good, and then at times it seems like it drives us to distraction and prevents us from thinking any more deeply, which reminds me of a book that is sort of interesting. It's called What Tech Calls Thinking.
Oh,
And it's pretty interesting. It's not at all what I was expecting. I love the title, and I was expecting What Tech Calls Thinking to be a little bit more like technological determinism and quantifying thinking, but it's taken a different angle, which is, at least at the beginning, which is pretty interesting, that a lot of these founders brag sort of that they are college dropouts. And he's saying, well, that's not exactly accurate. That a lot of them started out at Stanford and etc., right, and then dropped out because they felt like it was a waste of their time, or that they'd already grokked it. And so what you have is a lot of people, specifically like Elizabeth Holmes and Theranos, who believed that they had captured enough information about biology and chemistry and engineering in 1 year of intro classes that she felt that she could take on like the hardest problems and come up with a solution. So he's saying, like, there's this mindset of getting, just skimming the top, getting that top intro to a concept, and then, oh, got it, grokked it, move on, thinking that you've understood all of it, which of course, if you're like a civil engineer, or an architect, you're not going to be allowed to make a house until you understand all the very deep topics.
but isn't that a huge fallacy? So in the book Connectome, Sebastian Jung talks about, and it's still only a theory, but it seems to be a very valid, viable theory, that you have all these brain connections going on, right? Connectomes. And the brain, if you learn something new, the brain is not going to take two different neurites, axons or dendrites, and say, oh, fuck it, I'm going to go down here and join up with this one so that Jennifer Aniston and Friends is connected. It doesn't work like that. It works on the fact that these are already touching and there is a connection, but it's latent. So if there is something that you learn that connects these, that then grows and becomes strong. But if it isn't used, it fades away after a while, right? In other words, thinking is so. I don't think that you can just go into a room and be introduced to a concept that is far away from your daily thinking and grok it. I think it takes a lot of work. And that's why I think it's, with Doug Engelbart and me, obviously he was a great man and I'm kind of a follower. But for me, it seemed, as a lot of what he said seemed obvious in its simplicity. But I think that a lot of people in power, they've gotten to be powerful because they have a more complicated life, meaning that when Doug says ABC level of activity or whatever, they can't see it, they can't understand it, because it doesn't fit their network already.
Yeah.
And that is why your intuition thing seems to be a really fruitful way of thinking about how can you go outside of your base thinking to try to make jumps.
Yeah. Oh, there's so much to say on that. I do need to get going though. To not leave next week stranded, what's on the docket? I mean, obviously.
Yeah, good question. I think what we're going to do, if you agree, is have half of the session on paper, since I've already invited people, and just see fresh things, not talk about you at all. And then say we're going to schedule a presentation from Alan coming up so that people have because they may very well just talk about writing in a notebook and leave it at that. Or because you really are running this show, or I quite simply tell them we have moved it and on Monday we're going to pick another topic since it's become a topic day. I'm really okay with either one, even though, yeah, we should have coordinated better, and I apologize.
Oh, no worries. Yeah, I'm fine with the top. I mean, paper is an open topic, like anybody can talk about it, right? So that's
Yeah, but it's not fun though. It's not fun because yeah, you know why it's not fun.
I think what I'd be interested in, and maybe this is for the presentation, but almost an exercise in like how could you imagine an analog VR?
Can you do me this great favor? Can you write that down in an email, send it to me? Maybe more, but at least that sentence, and I will forward it to everybody. Say, Alan cannot make it. I made a mistake. This is what he's asked us to consider. So you're giving them homework for that session.
Yeah, okay. And I think that would be that would help me to actually even come up with some experiments, right? Years before I did, how can you make an analog? How can you make? Years before I started this table thing, I just because ADD and horrible memory, I have literally a giant chalkboard in the hallway. I've got a giant whiteboard here. I've got a giant whiteboard or not a giant one, a smaller whiteboard in the bathroom. I've got another whiteboard that I just cleaned up over here. So it's like I definitely try to make my space as much of a tool for thought as possible.
My professor from Syracuse, whom I really cared for, he died a month ago, and he was kind enough to consistently ask me, so what is the future of text? And it wasn't until the week after he died I realized the future of text is asking continuously, what is the future of text? That's what it is. And he also said another thing, don't tell them, show them. He taught advertising, don't tell them, show them. I'm all about product because product is something that changes people. When we write stuff, we are suggesting things to them. So within even the paper VR you're talking about, if we can show them rather than just tell them, like maybe part of your presentation is filming your apartment, filming where these things are and explaining how they fit together. Because it's not just, because the problem I have with hang on, I got to pause. I know you got to go. Right. So yeah, if we can be a bit show don't tell as well, that would be really great.
Yeah. I think adding some of what's been going on with Folk Computer would be good. Okay. I'll
All
think
right.
about that a little bit more, and I've already written down some of it.
Okay. If you send me, I'll forward, and we'll figure out a date for you to present. So we'll keep it very simple to begin with. Yeah,
Sounds good.
This was good.
Likewise. Yes. Have a good one.
Yeah, and have a good celebration on Monday.
Thank you.
Bye.